My passion is reading. I want to read everything and everywhere, but I can't. I'm a slow reader, and I struggle to keep up reading my email, my blogs, my social posts, my news. I hardly have time to read a book. And so I want to change the way I read. Do you? If we look at reading over the course of history, we see that we started reading 5,000 years ago on cave walls. So instead of having letters, we use pictures. We arrange the pictures, and we expect our cave mates to read along. Well, fortunately, we invented symbols and alphabets so that we could transcribe our story onto stone tablets so that we could share them with the rest of our community. And eventually, Gutenberg came up with the printing press, and so we were able to distribute books around the world. Well, what we did was, through the course of time, we evolved the stone tablet to a digital tablet. But we still read the same way. We read across rows, and we read down columns. And there's a proliferation of devices now for reading. So you pull your smartphone out on average 150 times a day. And what do? You're reading most of the time. And of course, with new devices like these smartwatches, it becomes ever more difficult to read on these really small screens. So, the opportunity is for us to innovate. Reading hasn't changed, publishing has changed a lot, but reading has stayed the same. And so we call this an innovation gap that we want to fill. It's important to evolve reading. So as we look at reading, we notice that our eye moves from word to word, line to line. Here's a video of what happens to our eye while we're reading on a mobile phone. About 80% of the time, your eye is moving. And when your brain is moving your eye, your brain's not thinking about what it just saw. So the eye's got to jump and recognize a word. So let's look at that process of recognition. A word is simply a pattern of symbols or letters that you learn to recognize. You're not born to read. You're taught to read. And in languages where you're taught to read from left to right, that recognition point is to the left of center. So your eye is trained to anticipate it. Languages from right to left, it's just the mirror. So in this word, recognition, it's actually the fourth letter, the O. And we've colored it red, so now your eye is sort of guided to that point in the word. Shorter words, it's a different letter. So what if we could focus your eye to that place where you can recognize the word and keep your eye there so you don't have to move your eye? So a very simple but powerful concept. And then what we can do is we can stream the words one at a time. This is an example for you. It's in English and then in French. And it's really nice to experience this the first time in your native language. So for those of you here in the French-speaking audience, you'll appreciate that. So just relax and watch the reticle. So comprehension, that's key. People are afraid if you try something new, well, what if I can't remember what I've read? Over 100,000 people have taken a test using this technique at speeds ranging up to 5 times the normal reading speed. And what we find is that up to 550 or 600 words per minute, which is 3 times the normal reading speed, you have the same comprehension that you do traditionally. So you don't really lose anything. And the reason you don't is because you're focused. And look at what happens when we show the same passage being read with this technique. So if the eye didn't blink, you wouldn't know that that video was actually running. That's what's so powerful about the technique. And it's very personalized. You know, reading, we've got slow readers, we've got fast readers. There's a speed that's just perfect for you using this technique. We call it the Goldilocks effect. Too slow is too slow, too fast is too fast. And so you need to find that speed, and it may vary with the complexity of what you're reading. So if you're reading something technical, something you're not familiar with, you slow down. If it's emails and you know who's writing you can consume it very quickly. So I'm going to give you your first experience of speed. This is a promotion by Universal Studios of their new movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. And they chose this technique to communicate how Lucy uses more of her brain than we do. So of course she can read faster. So just relax and watch the reticle. So this clip actually goes up to 2,000 words a minute, and at that point, it's a blur. But if you watch it a few times, you start to pick the words out. Your brain is really, really good. So evolution, that's what we're talking about, really, the evolution of reading. And already, you know, we've only had this out for 7 or 8 short months, but already some great innovation has occurred with it. This is an example of reading a book on a billboard. So Patricia Cornwell's new novel was streamed over the course of several weeks in the Liverpool Street Station. And so you're walking by this billboard, and you stop and, you know, you start reading a little bit, and every time you go by, you learn a little bit more about the book. A very clever way. It's hard not to look at the stream when you see it. Yeah, the Huffington Post, very popular news in the US, decided to integrate this technique into their app. And so you can read every article, and it works like this. You simply slide down a slider, and it starts streaming the article. If you decide you want to read it conventionally, you just slide it up, or not choose it at all. Great thing to have. I showed you the smartwatch. You know, it's hard to read on this thing, but with this technique, we only need space for one word. This is the Financial Times. And so you don't want to miss the late-breaking financial news, so you pick it up on your watch while you're on the metro. Pick a story, and away you go. So this is going to breed a whole new set of devices. I have here the Uno Noteband. It's a wearable that streams all the notifications from your phone to this little band on your wrist. Very discreet, great idea. Here's another idea, which is a way to read your book on your wrist. So we've got a lot of innovation coming. Millions of people have already seen this. And thousands of them have written us to say, this is really cool. You know, check out our Twitter page. It's unbelievable. I feel like superhuman when I read this way. And we've had people say, well, this is really life-changing. And it turns out that those people are the people that have challenges to read. They suffer from dyslexia, attention deficit disorder, macular degeneration, other syndromes like Asperger's. And what they have in common is that it's difficult to read because they can't focus. Their eye hits a page and it goes all over the place. And so with this focusing element, they were reading really slow before, and now they can read much faster. But the most important thing is they complete what they read. So before they hated to read, too much pressure, but now they can actually finish. And so they're learning where they didn't learn before. And we think that's the biggest impact that the technology may ultimately have if we can change the world through reading. It's already changed my life. Obviously, I've devoted my career to it now, and I can read more. But my challenge is to get this technology into all the content that I want to read. So I've got to get this technology everywhere, and if I do, then this will be the result. So I ask you to join me on the journey to change the way the world reads, one word at a time. Thank you.